Hello everyone and welcome to the Deeply Renegade podcast. My name is Molly, also known as the Deeply Renegade, and I'd like to welcome you guys to episode 187. Today is Saturday, June 17th, 2017, and I'm glad you could join me today. Sorry, I'm a little froggy right now. I just had some Thai food that was like seriously nose-run hot. So as a result, I just feel a little bit. Hopefully that will pass quickly, though. It seems like it's a good thing to have a beverage, like I usually do. So, I remember what I was going to do and failed to do before starting. I needed to finish knitting this row. Yay! So, maybe I will talk about this while I finish knitting the row. So I'm still working on my Find Your Fade, which is a Deepbluerenegade knits, oh my gosh, excuse me, pattern. It is, what would it be, the Find Your Fade, the original. So it is the ridiculous 7 skein of yarn Shawl of Doom. I am still working on my, what would it be? That must be my 5th color. Yeah. Excuse me. I'm still working on my 5th color, but that's not a big deal. But I'm actually working back whatever. Well, it's not a purl back row, it's really a knit back row because it's all garter. I'm working the knit back row for the lace section, or for the last lace section of this color, so I'm very, very close to the next fade section and incorporating in a new color. So that's exciting. The color I'm working with right now is the Cyborg's Craft Room Sparklate in the Unicorn Glitter Fight colorway. This is a pretty fine 2-ply fingering. Yeah, very fluffy. And then a little bit of sparkle in it as well for fun. So it is a very soft yarn. And then it's just full of crazy colors. I am not sure I can quite do the colors justice right now, unfortunately. So let's see. I guess the good news was it was the short part of the row. So the shawl is asymmetric. It is symmetric until the midway point, and then you stop increasing on one side while still increasing on the. You stop increasing on one side and you continue increasing on the other. And how many stitches you take away every row remains constant till the end. So that means that your last couple of colors in your shawl are actually represented about the same in terms of yarn usage. So that just makes it interesting. Had I thought deeply about that when starting, maybe I would have swapped my color order a bit. I'm not sure. So, so close. Oh, well, sorry about that, guys. I knew there was something I needed to do. I also have an event that I am hosting at a place that doesn't take reservations, so that always makes life a little exciting. So I'll have to leave the house a bit earlier in order to make that, just to make sure that I'm setting aside enough space for people to hang out. So there isn't as much time to podcast. I think there is enough time to podcast, so that should be fine. That seems unfortunate. Oh well, whatever. So apparently Windows News 10 really wants me to recommend it to a friend or colleague. So, here we go. This is where we're at right now. We have this end here, which is making up the bottom of the edge, where that little point there will be the point of the triangle. And then we have this ever increasing long edge. So had I actually followed directions, I would have had the more favorable decrease on the other side. Maybe I should show you guys the right side too. Not that it's too much different, but in the stripy sections it certainly does result in some difference. So the Cypress Crafting is definitely the big pop color so far, though it is really pretty. And then I'll be moving on to maybe a more green yarn, or my next yarn is going to be more green. Let's see if I can find it and pull it out. So my next yarn is much more green. So it shall be, but it has like greens and teals in it, so I think it's still going to work out. And it's definitely, I seem to be alternating between the beefier bases and the thinner bases, so that was a textural element I hadn't even intended, but has seemed to occur anyway, so it is. So even the bottom edge is, or whatever, one of these edges here is actually my wingspan, so still huge. But I think everything has been turning out fairly well so far. I don't think I got as much done as I would have liked this week. I guess I was right before the lace section, and now I'm done with the lace section this week. So I can move my little marker. More coffee is needed. So okie doke. So it's coming along. I would say the fact that I have my two favorites separated by the sky blue is pretty cool. And I don't make any promises for how far I'll be next week. It is nice mindless knitting, but it requires like a certain sort of activity for it to go really well. So that's the story there. That'll probably still be going on for some time to come. Because I do know that my last color will take up less yarn, so these are my last two in my sort of gradient going from dark to light and all of the different shades of blues and greens. So it's coming along. I probably should throw the other ball of yarn in. Okie doke. The other thing that I started today and has been sort of fascinating me is a Lee Meredith pattern called Vortex. It's free on Knitty, and it is a hat pattern. So you knit these 6 different wedges. In this case, I'm striping various yarns in order to create each wedge. So I think this hat that I'm working on now is going to have 3 different shades of red. The black will be throughout, and then different alternating wedges will be these different other colors, depending on how I'm feeling. So, because I'm at this point starting to root around in the bottom of the barrel for the scraps. So, great pattern. It was very fascinating to get the first wedge done, and very fascinating to get the second wedge done. It was like, oh wait, I should eat food. And I was like, oh dear, it's nearly 3. So, it's been very interesting to knit. What would be, at some point, I am going to, what would it be, and then I got to learn a new skill. I was trying to start this at knit night, but it required too much bandwidth, I guess. But I did a provisional crochet cast on a la Romy Hell. So, thankfully her blog was still up. The other video was definitely very missing. So, that shouldn't be too crazy. I just need to pull from the right end for when the time is right to unravel this guy, and I guess you kitchener it up at the end. So I figured that this was going to make a fairly attractive hat. What would it be? I'm now in this much more ridiculous red color, so as opposed to the more subtle red that I have here. And then it has this like this wavy brim, and the different stripies and those sort of things. So it's sort of making me wonder if I want to make one for myself, which has, some worsted weight yarn that would probably work well for this. Not sure. So I am trying to use the colors to sort of connect everything together. If I make a second one of these, it will be ridiculously striptastic. But I did fade or whatever, sort of combine 2 similar yarns in my brown and white stripe, because I picked a smaller ball and then needed to work it in. So for the next one I may do like blues and greens or something like that, or blues and browns. It seems like it can take an awful lot of shenanigans. So, free pattern. So far so good. I had to laugh at myself. I did like a provisional cast on. I had apparently left my interchangeable set home, and I swore I brought it with me, but I didn't. And then I did Judy's Magic cast on to be my provisional cast on, and I was like, no. I started reading the pattern, it's like, no, that's not gonna work. So, it was the case where it is a little bit mind-bending, so I think that's why it's been so fascinating to knit, because it's challenging my normal assumptions, but then you keep wanting to do another row. I don't know. So that's fun about it. It's not too crazy. So I'm just busting the acrylic stash here. So I had pulled out a couple of different, it was a case where I started with the red, and then I decided to stripe in a black, and then my original plan of knitting with little balls until they were exhausted didn't seem to be such a good idea anymore. So I may, and then I was like trying to figure out like harmonious colors for all of these ridiculous hats, because it's going to be a charity hat for SSK. So it counts for the Cal number 2, which is knitting patterns from people who are attending SSK, and then for the charity Cal, because I'm donating them. So I think it worked out. I'm thinking it's working out pretty good so far. Trying to sort of hold together a unifying theme, just to make sure everything comes together. I'm trying to think of what else to say. So I'm betting I'm going to be done because this has been a lot of fun to knit. It's probably not in the dark knitting. There is like a little bit of counting that needs to go on, but it has been good fun today. Maybe I'll even finish it today because it has been entertaining to do. So let's see, anything else I want to mention? I guess I could. So what I've worked out so far is I'm probably going to do, well, maybe I won't necessarily. I'm just puzzling over what sort of stripe I want to do next, so, or for what my next wedge striping is going to be. So I have like a very small amount of these guys here. Sorry. So I have a very small amount of these guys here, which I could use to sort of transition into maybe a yellow or something like that. I don't know. I think the stripe's just going to be, because the red I'm using is just so obnoxious. It's very, very obnoxious red. And then I have the rest of my bag of acrylic. So I still have quite a lot of brown, so I'm probably, the next one's probably going to have a lot of brown in it, and then all of these blues and greens will look really cool together. So that's sort of where I'm feeling right now, and I don't know, maybe I'll be surprised and my plans will have to change because I won't have enough of any one color to do something. I was trying to figure out the best way to keep it all tied together. So it's been interesting to knit a different style of hat. I think this probably goes along with the SSK class of knitting a hat from any direction with any gauge. So classes did come out. It turns out I won't be taking an ANPA class, unfortunately. It turned out that the Jillian Moreno bat spinning class ended up being at the same time, so I'm taking 2 spinning classes instead of 1 spinning class, which isn't the end of the world. It should be interesting. And then the other one I'm taking is Fractal Frolic. So, because you guys know I do love me a fractal spin. So, we shall see. I'm looking forward to the classes I'm taking, though. I don't know. I do have the idea of learning Intarsia in the round does sound interesting to me, though, because I could probably find all sorts of crazy things to do with it. But I guess I'm just gonna finish knitting this row and then I can move on to the next knitting project because I'm not quite done showing the knitting. So the other thing that got some love was my trekking XXL socks. I don't even think I actually have a proper project page for them, thinking about it. I don't think I've taken any pictures of it yet. So I started that last week. I don't think I've shown you guys. Maybe I have. Oh. It's a very obnoxious red in comparison to the other one. Oh well. So, gather up all of my small balls and put them somewhere. So this one did get some love. I haven't gone through a full pattern repeat yet. But these are the Lamino socks, which is by PA Knitwit. It's a free pattern that I ended up reprinting and making my own print out because it was the website card. There have been 8 projects, so this is by Sarah Jordan. Making sure I pull those correctly. So it has a nice little cable element that sort of brings it in and out. And then it sort of breaks it up a little bit with pearls as well. So I'm knitting this with my Trekking XXL, which was probably the oldest, mostly solid yarn I had in my stash. It's not totally solid, because Trekking is as close as you can get to the hand-spun look in sock yarn. And it looks like, yeah, so right now I'm working another one of the cable rows. So you bring it in and you bring it out. So nothing too crazy. So far so good. Maybe not appreciating as much the oodles and oodles of cables aspect of it, because you do end up, yeah, when you're doing a cable row, you are cabling every single stitch in the row. So that's why I ended up doing an 80 stitch sock, because I realized it was going to be fairly tight otherwise. But I'm happy with how it's turning out so far. I don't tend to have oh, sorry. Hopefully that wasn't too bad. So that's the only irritating thing about it so far, but I haven't finished a full repeat yet, so who knows. So nothing too crazy there. And then I ended up winding the ball into a cake, so that would be a little bit easier. And then I'll pull from the center for the second sock. It was a little challenging otherwise. So far so good. Only modification I did was I did 2 inches of ribbing instead of 1 inch, because real women need 2 inches of ribbing, just saying. So that is the story there. But much easier to carry around than the fade. The fade is getting pretty large, but then the ridiculous cable rows make it not quite as good for wandering around and knitting. So, not sure. Maybe these vortex hats will be okay for the purpose. They have their own logic to them, which isn't too crazy. So, I think that was everything knitting-wise. I did finish some spinning last night. I'm not quite sure what's happening here, though. Figure out what in the world might end. Oh, I know what happened here. My end ended up, but that's just going to be a mess no matter what, so I should stop worrying about it. So this is the Southern Cross Fiber in the Desert Rose colorway. It was a club colorway from November or sometime. November 2014. So it is not quite 4 ounces, it is 110 grams. Seems like sort of a random number, but whatever. And I'm done playing it. One thing that maybe if I do this again that I would do differently is I would need to ply on a faster ratio, because just looking at my singles so far, it looks like I might have taken out the twist in the 2-ply portion of it, which I hadn't intended, so I'm not sure what's going to happen here. But I was playing in the dark, so I don't think I was paying as close of attention. So I probably would need to overply the 2-ply portion of it more in order to get it to really sing, I'm guessing. And I had a little bit of Naho apply of the the backward singles, but nothing too crazy. It probably won't amount to much, and then I'll just break off the mini skein of end ply when I'm done. But really do like the depth of color in this guy, so it turned out really pretty cool. That's nice and close. So it did end up turning out to be a very delightful and complicated color. Will be fun to see how it turns out when it's all schemed up. What would it be? So hopefully got good yardage. I was pretty bad about moving the hook, but I did manage to get all 4 ounces onto a little bobbin. So next week I'll show this washed and skeined, and maybe I'll have more comments about it then. But that is done. Nothing is on my wheel right now, but this should be going on next. Probably spinning it on ludicrous ratio, going for Mondo yardage, because that's fun. So this is Julie Spins. This is BFL Tussa in the Pansy colorway. So I figured that would be a good one for trying out a big Navajo ply or whatever chain ply lace sleeve. We shall see. I still haven't received my club shipment yet, so I can't show you guys that. And I'll laugh a little bit if it turns out that if it was in the mailbox. So with the club shipment, it will also have the last part of my sweater spin, so that might jump the wheel, possibly. I find it to be reasonable. Because I would like to have that finished up so I could be ready to start knitting that sweater. So that's sort of where I'm feeling there, but I can't start the sweater because it starts with the red, and I'm probably going to have to alternate the skeins I spin because they were dyed at different times. I know, I've been bummed. I keep excited because it first landed in people's mailboxes Tuesday or something like that. I was like, come on! And if someone stole it off my porch, they're going to be sorely disappointed. Oh well. So, I think that is everything. I should be able to record next week. That will be the 24th. I don't have anything going on. Just being excited about SSK. That's most of it. So, with that, I hope you guys have a lovely week, and I look forward to talking to you guys next week. So, take care, guys. Bye-bye. Hey, guys. Guess what I found in the mailbox? I should have checked the mailbox right before I recorded. So, I have my June Fiber Club Muse Pullworth. This is the Nest Fiber Club. I think there might be spots open if you're interested. It's all been very lovely stuff, though the nest bin doth overfloweth. See, that whole entire cubby is nest. But, so this is very gorgeous stuff. Many different shades of blue, so it's fun. And I am in the regular, not the luxury. So whatever. If you are in the luxury, then you pay a little bit more, but you're guaranteed something silky. So it is lovely. So whatever. Definitely, what is it? I really enjoy her summer colorways because they tend to have a lot more blue in them. And then a couple colors that challenge me but do turn out pretty gorgeous on the final film. So that was the first house we used. And then the long awaited, what would it be? The Bumpa Jolly to finish the sweater spin. So that means this is going, or whatever. The next thing on the wheel is going to be the Jolly, so I can finish that sinking sweater spin. And I'll just sweep it under the rug, but it wasn't technically in my bin at the beginning of the year, because I had waited to take pictures of it. You know how it goes. So, this guy will need some photo time, but that's not too crazy. And then here's my Jolly. It doesn't even have a label, but it is this. It is a Super Wash Merino Silk in this super lovely red. So I'm gonna have to separate the stuff out. I don't know how it is that she managed to get it all crammed in there, but looking lovely. I might sort of like red, or this super bright saturated red, so I figured I should record this addendum so I don't need to show you guys next week, because there really wasn't any need. Should have checked the mailbox. So, with that, I hope you guys have a lovely week, and I look forward to talking to you guys next week. So, take care, guys. Bye-bye.